Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you're looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 47 of The World Which Is, which of course I did not prep. Brandon looks thoughtful when he steps away from the cave's entrance. Okay, this will be interesting. I didn't expect there were any unexplored dungeons left, even if this one's far from anything. Shouldn't we leave it alone then? Ellen says, although not in the usual I'm going to go against anything you suggest, Brendan, tone. This is caution that I should feel is reasonable, but come on, my first dungeon. Brendan's grin matches how I feel. And have these two miss on that experience bonus? No way. Really? Now our tone is dismissive. Dismissive is not what I want. Sarcastic is also not it, but yeah. Our tone is sarcastic. You're going to claim you want to do this for them? Unless we make it to the end, which we won't, you and I aren't going to feel bonus. We're high level. We're too high level. They'll be the ones benefiting. Why don't you think we'll make it to the end? Silver asks. Okay, here's the dungeon primer, he says in the tone he uses when he teaches me. Dungeons aren't infinite. There is an endpoint, and it's going to have the best reward. But before you get too excited, dungeons get tougher the further you go. It's usually progressive enough you won't notice until you're almost overwhelmed. Also, how far the end is depends a lot on how old the dungeon is. This one could be young enough, will be done before nightfall, but I doubt it. It's also likely it'll get harder than even me and Elle can deal with before we're close to the end. So you can stop it with the dream of riches and powers. We won't be getting that here. I'm just looking forward to the skill boost dungeon gives, I say, eager to start. Skill boosts? Silver asks, looking at me. Yeah, dungeons speed up learning skills. Didn't you know that? Speed up the learning of skills. The learning of skills. Didn't you know that? How do you know? She replies, slightly defensive. There's a dungeon about 2 hours north of Court. Every other month there's an expedition. It's a lot of guards and combat classes because most of it is about going as deep as they can. But a lot of crafters also go so they can do their trades and raise their skill faster. So it's a thing dungeons do, like straight up bonus to learning, like with a teacher? No, Brendan says. It's the danger that boosts the learning. It's on the same level as us raising our combat skill faster when we fight for real versus when we spar. It's got something to do with feeling the danger, I add, then continue at Brandon's raised eyebrow. It's something they did when I traveled with a caravan. They sent me to fight off a batch of level 3 or 4 monsters that were at the edge of the camp. They had no intention of letting me be hurt, but they didn't tell me that. Just said it would be easy for me, and it was good training. It got pretty hectic, and I was sure they'd leave me to die when Max shot one over me and the others dealt with the rest. I actually got a couple of levels out of that, and they explained the reason after. It also only works once. That means, Brendan continues, that those crafters who go in have to be left at a point where they'll always be worried an attack might come and that whoever is left with them might not be able to protect them. The moment they realize they're safe, the bonus goes away, and it also slows the higher level you are. Every train or so, Helen says. After level 26 is what the research shows. I'm surprised you don't know that. Never bothered researching dungeon, Brendan says. Too extensive of a subject for how rarely I'll encounter them. Ruins don't have dungeons. Really? I ask. I'd think they'd be perfect place for them. You'd think, but there isn't one on record. You'll find some around them, but never within the ruin itself. And it's going to be safe. Silver asks. Nope, that's the point of dungeons. To put yourself against something out to kill you. But you're going to keep us safe, right? You really want me answering that? You really want me answering that you really want me answering that and defeat the skill bonus, right? You know what? I don't want the right here. I'd much rather be safe, she answers. Brandon looks at me and I shrug. Sure, I want to learn faster, but I'm not leaving her behind. And I'm sure Brandon will manage to do something that'll let her feel in danger while not being so. Does that mean I won't get a bonus? Do I have to know I'm in actual danger, or is suspecting enough? System query, leveling skills. Skill can be raised through two methods, spending skill point and training. Spending points. 1 point can be spent to raise a skill one level. A point can also be used instead of currency to buy a new skill, setting it at level 1 automatically. Training. Skill can be raised through training at the rate of twice the current level in hours of active, focused training. The use of a teacher will reduce the total based on the teacher's competency. Only one teacher can help students learn, but a teacher can have multiple students based on their teaching skill level. Training under duress. When under life-threatening situations, skill gain is increased significantly. With that gain, that's going to be that. With that gain reducing the higher the skill level being used is. Well, that's going to need to be rewrote. Well, actually, no, it doesn't have to be rewritten. This is a system. If the writing is a little clunky, that's actually not a big problem. Thank you for such an accurate description that doesn't help me. All right then, Brendan says. Me and Elle will make sure you and Dennis are safe. We'll think of this as giving you both a taste of what a dungeon is like, so you can decide if it's something you want to do again, maybe without us, to protect you. I know I'd like that, I say, before I can stop myself, and Silver gives me what? Okay, me and Al will make sure you and Dennis are safe. We'll think of this as giving you both a taste of what a dungeon is like, so you can decide if you want to do it again, maybe without us protecting you. I know I'd like that. So this is about... I know I'll do that. I think this make it clearer that it's about going in without protection. I know I'll do that. I say, before I can stop myself, and Silver gives me a disbelief look. I don't want to go in so far I'll die, but I could do with speeding up my learning. I don't want to always depend on Brandon to save me from the people Xander is sending to kill me. You should never do that, Ellen says, and the siblings lock eyes. I ready myself for the argument. I was really hoping this. So, who's ready to go in? Brendan asks, breaking the staring contest. Me, I say, relieved. I guess, Silver says. I'm not leaving you alone with them, Ellen states. Then in we go. He places his hand through the cave's opening, pauses, then steps through. I follow. You have entered Dungeon of Muncie. This dungeon has not been explored. Experience and reward bonuses will be assigned upon exit based on percentage of completion. No information is available about this dungeon. There is no sense of the dungeon once I've passed the threshold. I think there's a bit more dampness in the air, but that can be my imagination. The way stories goes from those who've trained in the dungeon north of Court, it made it feel like once you stepped into the dungeon, you were in a different world. This just feels like what I imagine a cave might. Is it colder? Silver asks, rubbing her arms as we step out of the light streaming through the entrance. The earth acts as insulation, Ellen says, so it will be cooler. Dennis, how much light can your ring generate? Brennan asks as he attaches his light crystal to the end of a wooden rod with a small bowl of reflectors around it. Just what you've seen it generate, close to 2 meters of soft light. He nods and hands me something that looks like the rod he put his crystal in, except it's metal and has a handle. I knew you'd taken it, Ellen snarls. Dad kept saying he misplaced it, and he gave it to me. Brendan says flatly. It's a crank light, he tells me, which means you have to crank the handle for a while, but it'll build a charge and give you light. I look it over, perplexed. I didn't know magic item could work that way. He laughs. It's not magic. It's old tech. From well before the system. Great grandpa had that in his basement. Mom and Dad were living there when the system turned off technology. Yeah. When the system arrived and technology stopped working. They found it and it still worked. Dad remade the casing in metal at some point, but it's basically the same as when great grandpa used it. The switch turns it on. Don't look into it. I pointed ahead, and the circle of light on the floor is stronger than his light. Why aren't you using this instead of your crystal? He chuckles as he walks again. You'll get your answer quickly enough. All right, Dennis, you're walking next to me, sort of the ready. Hell, you have our back, and Silver, whatever buff you can give us, we'll take. The music will warn them we're coming, she says. Brendan chuckles. Oh, they already know we're here. And that concludes chapter 47 of The World Which Is. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe. And I have lost my train of thought. If you want to subscribe. If you want to read the story, it is up for free on Royal Road. If you want to support me, as well as read ahead of Royal Road, that is on my Patreon, where we're about 10 chapters ahead. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.